My list would not be complete if I did not have Mr. Blue on my list. And one of the things that I like about him is the fact that he's dynamic, is the fact that you never really know what he's going to do. But when he does it, you're like, okay, that's why he's on this team. Okay, that's why he's rated so high. Okay, that's why whatever. One thing about Blue is if he gets to the edge, you better hope that you catch him, and you better hope there's a safety back there that can have a good angle on him to hunt him down, because he is dynamic. And one of the things that I absolutely love about him is every time we needed a play this season, I feel like he stepped up. Yes, at the beginning of the season, we'll leave that where it's at, but he continued to get better, he continued to improve, and he continued to help Texas win football games. And in my opinion, in football, people are going to mess up. Players are not always going to be perfect. He stayed in the game, he kept working, and he ended up scoring touchdowns when it mattered most. Blue scored touchdowns against A&M, Blue scored touchdowns against Clemson, Blue scored touchdowns against Ohio State. Like, he stepped up when we needed him to step up. So I needed to add Blue to this list, because I think whoever gets him is going to get a dynamic player, is going to get a speedy player, and is going to get a very versatile player. But to me, when I think of him, I think of dynamic, and I think of the things that he brought to Texas, and everything that he brought to Texas made Texas more dynamic. So I'm going to get to the other side of this video, hope the sun doesn't go down, hope the birds aren't too loud, and hope this thing isn't moving and these weird flies aren't in the way. And I'm going to talk about Blue a little bit more and give you a little bit more context about why he's on this list, and then talk about him like I have the other people that are on my list. He is a junior. He came out early, so he technically could still be with the Texas Longhorns. But one thing I like about young players is that means there's a lot of more room for growth, and there's a lot more room for development. I think he's going to get to the NFL. I think he's going to work on his body, and he's going to take care of the things that need to be taken care of. The one thing I always say I like to see in players is when you have a bad game, or when you have a bad moment, or when your team needs you, how do you step up? We're all going to mess up. We're all going to do things we shouldn't do. But when people need us, and when it is our time to step up, and it is our time to shine, what do? Every time Blue had an opportunity to step up and shine, Blue stepped up and shined. One of the things too that's kind of interesting to note about Blue is he's a running back. He was finding the end zone by breaking open runs, and he was also finding the end zone by receiving. You want those players on your team. The goal of football is to score points. And if you have a guy that you know can get to the end zone and score points, I want to have that guy on my team. So Blue is on this list because he is Mr. Dynamic, and I think he belongs on this list, and somebody is going to draft Blue, and they're going to get a guy that can just score touchdowns. Who doesn't want that? So like I've done with all my other videos, the 5 ways that I am going to evaluate Blue, and I'm going to talk about Blue, is I'm going to look at how he performed at the combine. I'm going to look at his pro day. I'm going to look at his competition and how he fared against competition. Spoiler, very well. And I'm also going to look at his overall stats from his 3 years at the University of Texas. It's kind of crazy saying that, but he was only here for 3 years. And I'm also going to look at team needs. Who would need a player like Blue? Who is like a player like Blue? How can Blue really add something to somebody's team? I'm going to look at that. And then the final thing, which we all should know by now is probably going to end up being my favorite thing, is going to be my eye test. What do I think about these players? What do I feel? What are some things that I remember? What are some things I'm going to keep an eye out, and all of those things? Let me just get into the conversation when it comes to Blue. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to check and make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. And don't forget to turn on those notification bells. Also, if you're feeling generous, leave me a comment in the comment section below. When I looked at his combine stuff, I will say there's 2 things that really stood out to me. The first thing that stood out to me is that he was listed at 5'9". So on the website, he had been listed at 6 foot. I'm totally aware that they test barefooted, but him being 5'9" actually surprised me. And then his hand size surprised me. His hands being at 8'14" surprised me, because he actually has really small hands. And honestly, he might have one of the smaller hands in the NFL draft. That wouldn't surprise me, or that were at the combine. That would not surprise me at all. And so that was something that surprised me. The other thing about Mr. Blue, and for those of you that are wondering, I call him Mr. Blue because I can't really tell you why I call him that, but there's some things that happened during the season where I needed him to bounce back, and I needed him to get better, and I needed him to improve, and he did all of those things. And so I said I was going to start calling him Mr. Blue, so I'm going to stay true to my word, and I am going to call him Mr. Blue in this series, so just go with me here. He obviously ran the 40. He ran it in 4.38 seconds. His split was a 1.52. And the thing about this time for Blue is he was actually the second fastest running back that was was at the combine. Obviously, to me, it doesn't really shock me. It doesn't really, like, I don't think anybody's surprised to see that Blue is fast. We all knew that he was fast, so that's not really shocking to me. I think what is shocking is just going to see how his size impacts him now that I see that he's a little bit smaller in stature, and then how his hand size impacts him. He gets a check mark when it comes to the pro day, because the fact still remains that he is my Mr. Dynamic, because he is dynamic, and I saw him be dynamic in multiple football games. So Blue is dynamic. He's going to forever be dynamic, and that is my takeaway from the pro day, is that he still is dynamic. Blue is going to benefit, Mr. Blue is going to benefit from being in the SEC. He had his best games, in my opinion, against tougher competition. He had that touchdown pass that I will not ever probably forget on the sideline against Ohio State. He caught the ball off balance, broke a tackle, scored a touchdown. Phenomenal job by him. He caught a touchdown in the end zone against Texas A&M. Very important for him to keep his feet in balance and get that touchdown called. Believe they reviewed that play and he got that touchdown. He also broke loose against Clemson, in my opinion, that really put the game away. So that was great on him. And so every game that I can think about when we needed somebody to make a big play, when we needed somebody to step up, Blue was able to step up. The other thing he did very well is that we had a running back room by committee. We had 2 starters go down in the preseason that we really thought were going to be able to contribute this year, and they weren't there. So Blue was actually like the first running back in, second running back in, sometimes third running back in, sometimes because he's fast, his dynamics and different things like that. He was put in different positions and he shined. And so for that, I think that's great. So as you're looking at Blue stats, you can see he had 134 carries, 730 yards, 8 touchdowns. His average was 5.4 yards a carry. That is actually pretty impressive considering he was not our #1 back. So just always remember, everything that you're looking at, he is not the #1 back. The other thing I want to call here is when I look at his overall stats from the past 3 years, 2022, obviously he was a freshman, so you see his stats there. 2023, obviously with those rushing yards, he was also the backup there. In 2024, he was still the backup, but he was able to share the load. And like I was saying before, Mr. Blue has elite speed. And so when you have speed, your coach has to find ways to get you on the field. And so Steve Sarkisian found a way to get him on the field. And so if you look at these stats, Blue had over 1,000 yards of all-purpose yards. I think that that is phenomenal. 42 yards receiving, 134 carries. I think that that is phenomenal. And I think that that is going to translate well. And so I really like his stats. And I think that that's going to be important for him. I want him to play somewhere on the West Coast, somewhere in the South. Honestly, it's the NFL. Whatever team he goes to, he's going to be great, and they'll figure it out, and he'll figure out a way to get on the field. As far as I'm concerned, anybody who gets Blue is going to be excited to have him on their team. Like I've always said, and like I will continue to say, he is Mr. Dynamic for a reason. He is dynamic. He is going to make plays. He is going to score touchdowns. He is going to do all those things you want him to do. That is just who he is as a football player. The only negative thing I have to say about Blue is his size. And obviously, at the beginning of the year, he had some fumbling issues. My hope is that his fumbling issues were just because it was at the beginning of the season and he was nervous and all those things. However, because of that size, I could see Blue going on day 3. However, I think he might go on day 2 because of his speed. So if you are somebody that believes that as you go into the NFL, you can continue to get better based on the limit amount of snaps that you had in college football, you should think that Blue is going to go day 2 because he didn't play a lot of snaps in college football. However, if you're one of those people that thinks that once you have that issue, you're always going to have your issue, Blue might go day 3. No matter where Mr. Blue goes, I think he's going to be an asset to anybody's football team. I think he's going to score a lot of touchdowns, and I think people are going to be excited when they see him line up in the backfield. And maybe most importantly, the defense on the other team is going to kind of have to figure out what they think Blue is going to do out of the backfield, and that is his competitive advantage. And now that I think about it, that might be one of the reasons why he goes day 2, is because he is going to make those defenses second guess what they're doing. I'm looking forward to Mr. Blue proving me right into the NFL, and most importantly, I'm looking forward to seeing how he grows and continues to evolve and continues to get better and all of those different things. And that wraps up my Mr. Blue. So I will see you in my next video.